KFTC News.
Where news and talk comes first. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. Despite state law to the contrary, an ad hoc group of local residents are urging the members of the Logan City Council to call for a mask mandate for youngsters in city school. In city schools, former legislative candidate delivered a. The name is not complete on this, but. Delivered a petition with nearly 400 signatures to city council members on September 7th, addressing the council members from a position of some expertise as a retired registered nurse with 27 years of experience in the surveillance of communicable diseases. They also spoke as the representative of the Concerned Coalition of Cache County, a group of nonpartisan residents of Cache County who are concerned about COVID-19 management in local schools. They asked council members to support a mandatory masking for in-person school attendance in accordance with guidance from the Centers for Disease Control, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Utah State Board of Health, and the Utah Board of Education. Although obviously well-intended, complying with the petition could have the potential to ignite a turf war between the Logan City Council and the Cache County Council. In May, the Utah legislature passed a measure that barred public schools and universities from unilaterally implementing mask mandates. Under that statute, local health officials can still respond to coronavirus outbreaks in schools with mask orders, provided that county council members approve that action. KVNU News Time is 5:07. KVNU weather for tonight: rain showers likely and a slight chance of thunderstorms this evening, then rain showers likely, a chance of thunderstorms after midnight. Patchy smoke after midnight, low in the mid-50s, 70% chance of showers. 50% chance of some showers tomorrow and some thunderstorms possible as well in the afternoon. Partly cloudy. It's going to be cooler, high temperature in the upper 70s. Warm right now, 88 currently at KVNU. KVNU weather is brought to you by Roof Rescue. Even if you are denied by your insurance company, the first time you receive a quote to fix your roof, a free reevaluation can be made. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free consultation. That's roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind.
Hey, get prepared for the hunting season. Did you remember to bring your hunting gear, your sleeping bags, and coats into Mount Logan Laundry? With their 55 and 80-pound washers and dryers, they can do any job. And while you're at it, bring in the comforters and blankets and get ready for the colder months ahead. Try Mount Logan Laundry. For a few quarters, you can use their large-capacity washers and dryers and be done in no time. Free Wi-Fi and drop-off service. They're at the corner of 5th East and 9th North in Logan, or in Brigham on the corner of 1st East and 7th South. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town.
KVNU News Time is 5:08. Fox 13 reporting just moments ago that there's a new wildfire that's burning in parts of Davis County near Farmington and Kaysville. It's been named the Legacy Fire. No neighborhoods are threatened near the fire, but officials warn that could change with significant wind shift. The fire, which has burned an estimated 200 acres, is located west of I-15 and east of Antelope Island. With no way for crews to access the fire, the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands will allow it to burn. Crews have established a fire break on the West Davis corridor in case the wind shifts. After being deluged with 911 calls, the Kaysville Fire Department is asking people to refrain from calling unless there is an emergency. And the new production for Music Theater West is the popular musical The Sound of Music that will be presented September 17th through the 25th at the Ellen Eccles Theater. Managing Director Celeste Ballio appeared with CacheValleyDaily.com's Charlie Schill, who covers theater every Thursday afternoon on KVNU's For the People. She said that things are on the upswing for the theater company.
Through the past few years, I feel like we're getting bigger and bolder every time. So it's going to be exciting to see what the future holds, because we want to start adding more productions. Typically, we've done 2 a year, and we want to find a spot for another 3rd production a year and keep that same quality that we've been doing in the past.
Balio said because The Sound of Music is so well known, it makes it hard to produce.
Which is hard to compete with. How do you compete with a beloved film that we grew up watching as children? I think the main thing is you have to take a spin on it, your own spin. The girl that we have playing Maria, Jamie Yonker, she's adorable. She's not Julie Andrews, but she brings her own magic to the character.
Like Julie Andrews in the film, she said Yonker has a wonderful voice. For more information and tickets, go to musictheaterwest.org. KBNU News Time is 5:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
With home values increasing greatly, there has never been a better time to do a cash-out refinance. But where do you get a cash-out refinance and not get clobbered by the rate? Not the banks, not the credit unions. Call Loans by Rick at 801-809-SAVE or click loansbyrick.com. Compare the interest rates and closing times. Loans by Rick is closing in 12 to 22 days over 90% of the time, which means fast cash back to you. Click loansbyrick.com. Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders. Finding the correct mortgage lender is critical for your home purchase. At Loans by Rick, they're closing purchase loans in 12 to 22 days, always getting low rates, and for August and September, Loans by Rick will pay your appraisal on home purchase loans over $500,000, saving you $500 to $600. Click loansbyrick.com or call Rick at 801-809-SAVE. Lender testimonials available at loansbyrick.com. Rick Kirschenbaum, NMLS 241179, and Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106 are equal housing lenders.
Even though the weather's grown colder, you still have time to have your fruit trees pruned. Logan Extermination says your trees need to be trimmed back in order to achieve success next year. And this is the first step to a bountiful harvest. However, you could do more bad than good if you don't know what you're doing. Save the headache and call Logan Extermination today and get a jump on tree pruning. Prices will vary depending on your needs. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
This is Governor Spencer Cox. Right now, we're facing our state's worst drought on record. If we continue to drain our water supplies at the current rate, we won't have enough for our future needs. So I want to thank the residents, businesses, and other institutions that have taken steps to slow the flow. Utah, now's the time to unite in our effort to water less. Please visit slowtheflow.org today to learn ways that you can take action.
Building a signature landscape requires design and expertise. Canyon Landscaping offers both. They've been creating, building, and maintaining landscapes for over 20 years. With a combined 100 years of management experience, their in-house landscape architecture team designs and manages each job with experienced installers who ensure a signature project. Are you ready for the yard you've always wanted? Don't wait. 752-3838 or go to canyonlandscaping.com. Canyon Landscaping. Look for the leaf.
You say that you love me, all of the time, You say that you need me, you'll always be mine, I'm feeling glad all over, yes I'm glad all over, baby I'm glad all over, so glad you're mine. I'll make you happy, you'll never be blue.
Welcome to KBNU's For the People movie show. With Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com. Getting kind of a late start here because I was getting a pre-show preview of the review today. And I can't stop laughing now, which is not a good sign normally when you're going to be talking about a horror movie, but it sounds like...
Did you just see me talking into the open without any mic?
Yeah.
Like my life, my life is Mike.
It's been a week for everybody.
It really has.
Doesn't it feel like this week's been strange?
It has. In fact, I have a new phrase, right? Because believe it or not, I hate to disappoint everyone, but this is not my full-time job. You know, if hint, no.
What if it was?
I'd be syndicated. Somebody out there's like,
Probably.
yeah, right, movie boy.
Movie boy. You'd probably see a lot of movies.
I actually,
we've talked about this before, whether that would ruin it or not. If it was your full-time job, if you had to go see movies.
I don't know if it would ruin it, but I can tell you one thing. This is a conversation I've had my whole life, right? You know, like my kids, when they're one of their teachers would be like, "Can your dad come in and talk to us about movies or movie ratings or whatever?" Whatever he wants. And I would say, yeah, sure. And I'd come in and they'd be like, how do I get your job? And I'm like, my job.
Very few people have this as a
and
job.
I tell them that. I say, look, this is not, and here's the thing too, and I don't want to besmirch my colleagues.
Hobby profession.
Or whatever you want to call it. But it's just, you know, in today's day and age, like I've always said,
Sorry about that.
That actually just gave me PTSD for the scary movie.
Sorry.
But these today, everyone's a critic, right? Everyone's always been a critic, but everyone has a platform today.
Social media,
yeah. So it's like you can get on and tweet, and let's say you have 2,000 followers, or however many followers you have. You probably have more than that. You have like You have 700,000 followers. Is that what it is?
I think we're at 3,500.
Don't you compete daily with Todd Weiler?
Senator Weiler, you know, it's so funny. People love to hate him, and I actually like him.
I don't think they love to hate him, Jason.
He's a troll on Twitter.
I think
but in person, he honestly is one of the coolest people.
Well, isn't everyone a nice guy? Like, you know, there's people
Senator Dan McKay isn't.
There's people I don't.
He's really like he is on Twitter. I'll just put it that way.
There's people I don't like that I won't say out here in person. But there's people I guarantee. Like, here's an example, actually. I know a hardcore conservative who despised Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton with every fiber of their being.
Sure.
And they met the former president and the former first lady, and they were like, never mind. They didn't like him still, like from a political standpoint, but they were like, he's a good guy.
No, I think this is a problem in general when it comes to social media, and I see where you're going with this because it makes it it waters down so you used to have this time where reviews were, you know, Roger Ebert and Siskel and Ebert and things like that, and now it's like you said, just everybody. Well, the same thing happens in politics, and
that's
yet,
true. Everybody has. I mean, well,
and there's none of that actual personal connection because. So here's the thing with politics. I don't know how you take this and let's see how you translate this into the entertainment movie world. But my experience with the Utah legislature is that despite what you might hear from them occasionally on certain bills, despite what you might hear from them on social media, and definitely despite what you hear from them when they're campaigning, because let me tell you, they're all magical libertarians when they're campaigning, but they are not that as lawmakers.
Is that anyway?
And so they just know that that's a good way to get elected by talking that way, and they're all good people.
Yeah.
There are the occasional bad apples, you know, but for the most part, they're all good people and they all mean well. And you can disagree, but so now translate that to the entertainment world, and I see what people are saying so now people can actually respond to an actor in a movie personally on Twitter.
Yes.
They don't know them. They've never met them.
Yeah.
And that gets ugly sometimes.
Yeah. Well, there's I shouldn't say there's more fan engagement, but there's more visible fan engagement, or even critic engagement. My personal thing is I don't think if you're a critic, you shouldn't be tagging actors and filmmakers in your post. Like, I shouldn't be saying, at James Wan's new scary movie is terrible. What an idiot, right? I'm not going to do that.
But some people do that on purpose,
I will do
right?
that with politicians.
Yeah, that's different, though, because they're volunteering for that role.
But no, I think
as
that's
an elected official.
Here's the thing. If I'm just a fan out there in the, you know, whoever, and I went to the movies and I thought, man, this is dumb, and I tagged James Wan and said, James Wan, your movie's dumb, right?
Yeah.
That's different. I think that if you're a entertainment reporter, a film critic, whatever your title is it relates to that, you need to be a little bit more professional, in my opinion.
Now, some people have gotten in trouble for this before in movie reviews and music reviews. Journalists that have tagged the star The sports reporters have gotten slapped for this before, tagging certain players.
Well, and I think it depends who it is, too.
One
because
guy way back, it was in Wisconsin or somewhere, but he tagged a high school football player in a critical comment about the team's performance that night.
Yeah.
And I thought, what part of that seemed like a good idea?
Well, especially, I mean, it's a child, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is a 17, at most 18-year-old kid, and you're lighting him up to your 10,000 followers.
I guess my original where I was going with this was, everybody's a critic today, and so I love what I do. I've been doing it for a long time now. In fact, my first movie, the first official paid movie review
as an official movie
that
reviewer,
I ever
movie
did,
critic.
was The Matrix.
Oh, hey, nice segue.
I know, right? And I was going to say, and now here we are, however many years later, because I can't count.
Old Keanu Reeves years later.
That was something I actually wanted to talk about. I want to talk about Malignant, about the 23 minutes that I watched, and then I want,
but not for the reasons you think.
Not a bad thing.
You're going to want to stay tuned to hear why it was that little.
Yeah, I want to talk about that, and then I also want to talk about a couple other topics. After what we talked about with Malignant, I would like to know from callers. So I want to throw this out to the to people listening. I want to know like movies that really scared you, right? Because there's jump scare movies. Like sometimes I ask that question, someone will be like Friday the 13th, or they'll say Nightmare on Elm Street, and I get that. And if that's the case,
you mean scared like
I'm like there are movies where you're
borderline
like
traumatized.
Yeah, where you got to turn the lights on and you're like, hey, can we have a quick Disney marathon? Something that just. This was so unsettling, and it's so frightening to you. I'd like to know. I want to know yours. I know what mine is, and I'd like to know what the listeners have to say. I also want to talk about, as we round out the hour, as probably we close the show, is I'd like to talk about what movies and film the industry looked like pre 9/11 versus post 9/11.
Ooh, yeah.
And if we've seen. The anniversary of that, the 20-year anniversary is tomorrow. I don't know if you knew that or not.
You might have heard.
But
getting a little coverage.
What's the difference? Is there a difference? Is it at all? Are we more delicate? Are we more?
I have some thoughts on this along the line. I'll hold it, but some thoughts on this along the lines of I'm actually surprised by what we didn't see.
I know there was a sensitive time for a while, right?
I thought, let me formulate this so that it's not offensive, and then I'll say it after the break. How about that?
That works.
753-5868. If you'd like to help Andy answer that question, what movie not just jump scared you? What movie left you? How'd you put it?
Unsettled.
Turning the lights on. Traumatized. Let us know. 753-5868. We'll be talking about Malignant later. Andy didn't finish the movie, but not because it was bad. And that makes me want to see it even more. Matrix 5 trailer out this week. We'll talk about that. A lot coming up here on the For the People movie show. Stay tuned.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
NMLS 1817019.
Got a rate over 2.9%? There's a falsehood that you should only refi if you can cut your rate by 1%. The truth is, lowering your rate by just 0.25% and making the same payment you make right now can cut years off your mortgage, saving you tens of thousands in interest. LendRight Mortgage will show you exactly how much you will save by cutting your rate by only 0.25%. Pay zero closing costs with our Freedom Loan. If your rate is over 2.9%, be smart. Stop wasting money. Lock a 30-year rate as low as 2.25% or a 15 at only 1.75%. APR 2.45 and 1.96 respectively. Call 801-APPROVE or visit lendrightmortgage.com. For rates in the ones, call 801-APPROVE or visit lendrightmortgage.com.
The most beloved musical of all time is coming to the Ellen Eccles Theater. September 17th through the 25th, Music Theater West presents The Sound of Music. Bring the whole family and share in an evening of the music you love and the story you'll never forget. This timeless Rodgers and Hammerstein classic will warm your heart and leave you singing. Tickets are on sale now at musictheaterwest.org. Don't miss The Sound of Music, September 17th through 25th.
Coming up on the Monday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, continued fallout from the Biden federal vaccine mandate. Where and how will they be instituted? And what does the pushback look like? A bunch of Republican governors and others are saying, Clay, they're not going to take it.
Plus, the anniversary of 9/11. What was the weekend like, and what was the experience like for the country as we dealt with that 20th anniversary? All that more to be the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show Monday.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com. A lot that we're going to get to this hour, how 9/11 did or didn't change cinema, what your scariest, and we don't mean jump out scary, like left you thinking about it, turning lights on, maybe even a tiny bit traumatized scary movie is. We have a caller, a couple that made a recommendation, someone chiming in online here as well. And, of course, Andy's review of Malignant. We'll talk about the fifth Matrix movie, trailer out for that this week, getting a lot of discussion. And, Andy, a caller on the line. I thought about this through the break.
I think I know what they said.
How to say my 9/11 stuff. So when we get to that, just let me know, and I'll put it out there. But what my observation over how it affected cinema over the last 20 years. But caller during the break wanting to weigh in on your question of what movie traumatized him, what it just left him, scarred. Phantasm was his movie.
100% agree.
Now, this is a sadly forgotten horror movie for the most part, and it shouldn't be.
It's a little corny now, obviously, because some of the effects and things. It's
dated,
super gory
because this was early 80s, right?
Yeah, but it's one of those. It's one of those. Hey, we're teenagers and we're in a place we shouldn't be. We're creeping around a place we shouldn't be.
Yeah.
This mortuary with the I can't remember what the tall man or the man in black. I can't remember.
That's what makes the movie traumatizing.
Yeah, it's
him.
And then there's the little silver ball with all the little drills and weapons on it.
Yeah,
that chases you around. Yeah, that movie. So interesting story.
It's really creepy, and I'll confess, I just last year during the pandemic, I signed up for. There's a horror movie Netflix called Shudder.
Shudder.
They were doing to help people stay at home. They offered you 2 free months in March. Back when we thought the pandemic would be 2 months long. Back in March.
Months?
Yeah, March of 2020. So I signed up. I'm like, 2 free months? Oh, yeah. And I watched every horror movie I could. That was the first time I'd seen Phantasm all the way through.
And what did you think? It scared you?
It was horrifying. Even dated, even, like you said, kind of some of the effects kind of corny. That is an unsettling movie.
You know what's interesting, though, is...
but well done. A well done unsettling movie.
It's funny that you talk about... that you're talking about watching Shudder during the pandemic, and I won't. This could be a whole other movie show, but one of the things that I've read a few pieces on is that horror movies can actually help people overcome real world trauma. People with anxiety, it can actually provide relief.
This actually is a segue into my thoughts on 9/11's effect on movies. I felt like, based on what we saw in the year or two after 9/11, the way the politics in the country were going, and how without any questions, really, the Afghanistan war evolved into the Iraq war, and watching all this play out, I thought we would see like a complete revival of like the Harrison Ford in a Tom Clancy movie type genre, and we didn't. What we saw instead was a horror movie revival. We saw a documentary revival.
Yeah.
Documentaries hit their heyday, not since the earliest days of public television in the 70s. And that's more what we saw. And then I think fantasy and science fiction actually saw a bit of a boost. So escapism is more what we saw. I thought we would see John Wayne action adventure, tough guy stuff for years, and we didn't. We didn't see that, and that surprised me.
I think you know what I didn't. I think it follows the mood of the country. And here's think about World War II and post World War II and during World War II, the movies. And I say this in the nicest way possible because I'm not painting this in a negative light, but the movies were buoyant propaganda, right?
Yeah.
Because we needed people here in the country to support the war effort. It was a different time, right? Obviously people had their, fathers, there was a lot of people over that had been drafted into the war. And so, a lot of the movies are like John Wayne and rah rah. It's just, it's like
Well, it wasn't a secret that Hollywood was in on this.
Yeah, no, and so I think that's a little different. And I think when we, obviously movies evolve with technology and things like that. So when we get to the 70s and the Vietnam War, right, it's different because it's not rah rah. It's look at the brutality of this.
The country was pretty divided over that war throughout.
And film was changing at the time anyway, because, right about the middle of the 60s, people started to, the old Hays Code, the old Hays Code, where we read the script beforehand, before one, reel of film was even inserted into the camera. We approved the movie, right? And we made changes. That was pretty much going away.
Yeah.
And so when we hit the late 60s, 70s, kind of the peak of the Vietnam War, Hollywood's even just going through a change. Like what we can see on the screen were things we had never seen before.
Yeah.
So, you get movies like, in the 70s, like The Deer Hunter and Apocalypse Now. And
just a few years after that was, I think, unique about Vietnam, too.
Right.
Just a few years after the war, technically ended. You got The Deer Hunter, which is really,
and then think about
it's a thoughtful, but it's dark. It's not.
It
it's
is.
not rah rah at all.
No,
it's the opposite.
It's not. And think about this too. You get down later into the 80s, right? And now it's where it's sort of the Cold War, right, with the Soviet Union, and the movies are like Chuck Norris and Lee Marvin, right, and they're going to war against terrorists, not on our country, right? Not in our country, but terrorists over in other lands. You know what I mean? Do you ever remember the movie Delta Force?
Yeah. I was just thinking about
and
that.
Some of that
type of movie,
some of that parodied, right? Some of that parodied what was already, happening in the world. There was, people taking over planes and stuff.
Yeah.
So what I think is interesting, and this is my take on 9/11. What's interesting about 9/11 is we come out of 9/11. And there's obviously some sensitivity about what happened in New York, right? Like immediately after 9/11, there was a trailer that had come out for Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man movie with the first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, and he catches a helicopter in a web between the two towers.
Yeah, and there was a debate over whether they should take that out.
They did, and they did cut it out. And then there was other things that they had taken out of that, but what I think happened post 9/11, and it didn't happen right away. It really didn't. I think what we got first, there was probably like a 5 to 6 year gap where people were like, "Yeah, we're not doing movies about this."
No, I was just looking at this. So the top grossing movies, top 4 in 2002. So you have September 11th, 2001. The biggest moneymakers in 2002: Spider-Man. Star Wars Episode 2, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and Signs. Mm-hmm. Those are the top 4 grossing movies of 2002.
And let me throw this
out. So
that
that fits with what you're saying. Like, we're just not talking about this.
We're not. And we had escapism. But, it's interesting. Even with Star Wars, George Lucas was throwing in some political messages in there because he did not like sort of this, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
No holds barred,
Attack
authority.
of the Clones has that scene. And I'm not recommending anyone who hasn't seen this movie see it, believe me, for a lot of other scenes.
Yeah, there's other movies.
It has that scene, just ham-handedly done, but when Queen Amidala says, so this is how liberty dies.
Yeah.
But the scene that's just played out is basically something that just happened in the United States Senate
the
year before.
Where they just said, we gave the president unilateral power.
Yeah,
to
no
declare
questions
whatever.
asked.
Yeah. The other thing is,
by the way, this is interesting. 2003, the top 4. Finding Nemo, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Matrix Reloaded, and Lord of the Rings: Return of the King.
Yeah, I think
so. Escapism holds up for another year after that.
It does, and then I think escapism is always going to be there. But the 9/11 movies start coming into the conversation in 2006 because there was The World Trade Center movie that was directed by Oliver Stone, that's 5 years after.
Which I'm not a fan, but that's actually good.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Stone fan.
Then there was United 93, right, with Paul Greengrass. That depicts
starts to get you closer to that.
It's almost like watching a documentary.
Yeah,
but like you're there, like somebody had a camera there. It's I would say that's an unsettling one. That's you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But then what we do is then we start getting into movies about the Iraq War, right? Because people are not happy about it. It's almost like kind of Vietnam. You get The Green Zone, another Paul Greengrass movie,
which
with
is
Matt
really
Damon.
good,
really good movie. You get the Hurt Locker.
I still think that's one of the best movies made about everything we were up to at the time.
And then there's other movies, you get movies like, then between that you get like War of the Worlds, right? And War of the Worlds might seem like kind of an escapist movie, but the whole theme of that is they're already here.
Yeah.
They're sleeper cells. You know what I mean? That was a fear of Americans at the time. Who in my neighborhood is a terrorist, right?
That's right. And around all this, you got the Harry Potter movies. You've got, because they keep going after Star Wars and Lord of the Rings are finished. Then you've got Spider-Man 2 and 3, and these are all huge blockbusters. But then, you've got But
then you get like The Dark Knight that comes in 2008.
Which, to me, that's when we finally said, okay, let's talk about this.
Yeah, because then you've got
the movie.
Surveillance. The Joker is a clear terrorist.
Sure.
With no, you know what I mean?
Everything about that second installment of Nolan's Batman movies is, to me, the first time a blockbuster movie said, no, we're going to talk about this now.
It is.
It's been 6 years, 7 years at that point, right?
And it brought up a theme that was post 9/11, which is this kind of moral ambiguity, right? Like, and going back to what you said before, the Hurt Locker.
Well, remember the debate around The Dark Knight, I remember these debates where people were like, "Oh, the boat captains are Bush."
Right,
like,
right.
Oh no, no. What's his name? I can't remember his name. Famous voice, Morgan Freeman. No, Morgan Freeman's Bush. And people were trying to decide. This is obviously commentary on surveillance, on the war, on terrorism, on the way public can roll an eye, but both overreact at the same time to these things. All those themes are in that second Batman movie, but everyone was fighting over who represented what.
Well,
and that I think was intentional on Nolan's part.
It was, and I think and that movie is more of a pop culture one, but there's other ones that center around the events of 9/11 or post 9/11. Like, again, we talk about like the Hurt Locker, where it's moral ambiguity. We talk about Zero Dark 30. Zero Dark 30 is probably in my opinion, the best sort of 9/11 type movie, because that it's the hunt for Bin Laden, and then you've got other ones that were lesser known.
Criticism of that movie is it's I get. I'll leave it. It's an action movie, and I kind of wanted there to be a little bit more of a pause somewhere where they talk about. I didn't get a sense that anybody there. How would it feel to actually be on that mission? Coming from a country that you live somewhere where the last almost decade is gone to this.
Yeah.
And it's part of our lives. It's ingrained in everything. And now you're on the mission
I think there's
to
a
bring
little
it to an end.
But they don't show it from the Navy SEAL side.
Yeah, and I guess that's what I wanted.
I think the moral ambiguity of even that moment in that movie, and there's many in that movie, is when the Pakistani translator that's with them.
Oh, yeah, that's powerful.
And he's going out to tell his countrymen, don't come over here or you're going to get killed. Right,
because this is
and
this
he's
is going down.
Kind of in the middle of this, like what am I supposed to do here? A couple other ones
forgot about that
I thought of as well was Eye in the Sky. That was the drone. There was a lot of controversy over drone strikes during the War on Terror. And then remember the whole series on Showtime, Homeland. That's another one.
That's great, by the way.
That, but yeah, and I don't know. And then I think the other thing too is I think, the role of the terrorist changes post 9/11, because pre 9/11 the terrorist is almost like kind of the hero that you love. I mean, think Die Hard, Hans Gruber, like he's a terrible person, right?
But he's
you're
the
kind of
anti-hero in that movie.
But you're kind of like, all right. Or you think like I don't know, The Devil's Own with Brad Pitt, or
someone pointed this out once, that the Ghostbusters, in the Ghostbusters movie, if you really think about it, so dating back that far, they are basically like eco-terrorists,
right?
Resisting, the EPA comes in and says, what you guys are doing isn't safe. It's going to blow up in your faces. And they're like, nah. And so it's like that all changes after 9/11.
No, I agree. And I think the other part of that, too, is because you're like, think about the movies that came after, like American Sniper, right? Or even, I mean, just anything like, again, The Hurt Locker, Zero Dark 30. You know, we have these hero characters that we're focusing on that are actually doing some, you know, kind of awful tasks.
Yeah.
But they're different. You know, we're looking like that. Hey, that's great. This is great. You know what I mean?
And then it kind of goes too far in the other direction, and you end up with, I think, one of the worst movies made. I think about all this. Is it American Sniper?
The one with Bradley
Cooper.
That was
it's well done, and it's an okay movie to watch. But if you know the story, and if you now know how aggrandizing and somewhat falsified this guy's story is, then it becomes sort of a perversion of all that, because
it does.
Like you're just trying to paint yourself as a hero in all of this. And we've got to go to the news, but we should keep this conversation going, because I want to hear the rest of your list there on how this evolved.
The other thing I want to throw out just really quick before we go to the break, because we can shift to Malignant when we come back, but what I'm thinking of is it'll be interesting to see where we are now, right?
Yeah.
Because we were post 9/11. And now, you know, in the day and age of like, you know,
the Afghanistan war ending, I think
it'll be interesting
literally
to see.
the bookend.
Yeah, it really is.
That's
interesting.
Yeah. All right. More of the For the People movie show coming up right after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News brought to you by the Duck Hunter. A new 9/11 exhibit has debuted in Weber County as the 20th anniversary of the attacks is set for Saturday. This weekend's program, titled Weber Remembers the 9/11 Project, is being held at the Weber County Fairgrounds and Ogden Amphitheater. The exhibit was created around 6 months ago by Jenny Taylor and Major Brent Taylor Foundation, a nonprofit that aims to honor military families and train future leaders. The interactive museum walks people along the late 1990s through September 11th and then into the wake of the tragedy. This weekend's 3-day-long event also features a community center that allows guests to interact with first responders and the military community. Before the event officially opened to the public yesterday, students from Ogden and Weber took field trips to the site to learn about the pivotal day in American history. The newly named Legacy Fire has burned in parts of Davis County near Farmington and Kaysville this afternoon. No neighborhoods are threatened near the fire, but officials warn that could change with significant wind shift. The fire, according to Fox 13, has burned an estimated 200 acres and is located west of I-15 and east of Antelope Island. With no way for crews to access the fire, the Utah Division of Forestry, Fire, and State Lands will allow it to burn. Crews have established a fire break on the West Davis corridor in case the winds shift. After being deluged with 911 calls, the Kaysville Fire Department has been asking people to refrain from calling unless there is an emergency. And westbound lanes of I-80 were closed after a truck carrying human waste had to brake suddenly and spilled all over the roadway. KUTV reports the incident happened near mile marker 113 around 11:30 Thursday morning. Officials said the truck was hauling around 200 pounds of waste to the Salt Lake landfill. The driver told them another car cut him off on the interstate and he was forced to slam on his brakes. Some of the waste spilled up over the open cargo container and splattered all over the back of the cab and the roadway. There was no estimate of how the load spilled. Crews from UDOT and the trucking company, along with the Utah Department of Health, all worked together to clean up the mess. KVNU weather is brought to you by Polylift Concrete Raising and Piering. They will stabilize, lift, and eliminate further settling by using Magnum Piering products to save you big money down the road. The foundation lifting experts. Visit poly-lift.com to schedule your free assessment or call or text 435-999-9309. Polylift is locally owned and operated. Rain showers likely, slight chance of thunderstorms this evening. Then rain showers and a chance of thunderstorms after midnight. Patchy smoke after midnight, low in the mid-50s. And then a chance of rain showers, slight chance of thunder Saturday morning, and about a 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. Partly cloudy, cooler tomorrow, high in the upper 70s. And a nice day Sunday, sunny and around 80 degrees. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Believe it or not, a high-quality furnace air filter will reduce the amount of dust and pollen carelessly floating around in your home. John at the Duck Hunter says, always buy a higher quality air filter. If you can see through a filter, you probably should pass on it. If you're not sure about which furnace air filter to buy, give John a call. He only carries the highest quality, which will reduce the dust and pollen in your home. For a free consultation, call the Duck Hunter at 770-4813.
We are the Duck Hunter. Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duck Hunter.
Welcome back to the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan of Andy at themovies.com. Wrapping up just a few minutes early tonight to make room for Al Lewis and Aggie pregame.
What's going on tonight?
Followed by high school football. It's a night of sports.
It is. I know.
Aggie game.
I watched the Aggie game last week. They pulled it off. Way to go, Aggies.
That's right.
The movie show sends you kudos.
and I think likely 2 in a row. And then after that,
I don't like how those sports guys look at me. They look down on me like all you know about is movies, movie boy. And I'm like, try me on sports.
You know, when you're not here, the guys at the Fan, they call you movie boy / jazz boy.
Oh, a jazz boy works.
Because those are the two things that they know that you can talk intelligently about.
Somebody's out there
because they've heard you.
Somebody out there's like, oh, I didn't know he liked Kenny G so much. Doesn't that make you jazz boy?
Huge. Yeah, in fact, that's the kind of jazz they're talking about.
Is that even jazz?
And it's the scat jazz, too.
I'm more...
like the no rhythm.
I'd like Kenny G to make a comeback as a scat jazzist.
See, now that actually would be with that same hair. The 80s Kenny G hair. Have you seen Kenny G on Twitter?
No, did he?
He is a little feisty guy on Twitter.
Well, did he cut his hair ever?
I don't know.
Michael Bolton did.
Let's Google that.
You know? Have you seen Michael Bolton?
I feel like you're all this Kenny G talk is to just soften the Malignant talk.
Yeah, so let's talk about Malignant.
Kenny G is a lot like watching a Disney movie after a horror movie.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, let's talk about Malignant for a minute because...
apparently nobody's taken a picture of Kenny G since the 90s.
It's so scary.
Or he still has that hair.
Do you know...
it's that Kenny G...
I don't think people would see Malignant and go... Oh, yeah, I know everything about this, right? Because there's not really anybody that you're going to know in the cast.
No, he still has that hair. Here's a photo from 2021.
You're still looking at Kenny G's hair.
Photo from 2021. He has not cut the locks.
So, did you watch Malignant when it started streaming last night?
No, I am like you. Some movies, I just get this feeling this is going to be really good and really scary. The last one was not Insidious.
Annie?
Not The Conjuring. What's the other one? Or no, maybe it is Insidious.
I don't know. Insidious 2 came out in the early 2010s. Conjuring 2 was, I think, probably 4 or 5 years ago. Conjuring 3 came out at the beginning of the summer and was different.
What's the one with Kevin Bacon? Malevolent?
No,
or something.
I think I know what you're talking about.
So that's one that I got this feeling. I watched the trailer and I thought that one's going to be good and it's going to be too much for me. I was sorely disappointed, by the way.
Is that the one that has
a horrible movie?
I can't remember.
Cheesy as all get out.
Yeah,
but that's the last time I remember thinking I'm going to hold off till Andy sees it.
No, so here's why I love.
Really quick, I rewatched The Ring this week.
Yeah, scary.
It holds up.
This actually has. I think this movie has homage to The Ring because this is set in Seattle.
Oh,
and a
lot of flannel.
No,
that's still
actually,
a thing up there.
No, it's not.
Grunge will never die.
No, and the kind of creepy character, it kind of has a bushy, like long hair that hides the face. I think I know why, but again, I was only 23 minutes into it before I ran for the hills.
You quit
Yeah, but let me talk about this for a second because the reason I probably would never watch this normally if I didn't know that it was directed by James Wan. And James Wan is one of those guys where I say the name and people, unless you're a horror whatever I've tried to say.
Everybody knows what you mean.
I'm trying to speak Italian today. Anyhow, what I think nobody would know who he is. But if you go back over the last, 11, 12 years, he really he came on the scene with Saw, and then he sort of went away, and then he came back with Insidious, which is so scary. And then he did Insidious 2, which is also so scary.
Yeah. Those movies.
And those movies, obviously, because they're main film and a sequel, there's threads that hold those together. But when he bled those over into The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2, he has this sort of style. It's this old school, he loves old school horror. And the thing that James Wan does, and I'm setting this up to talk about how Malignant is different, because I was surprised at first. But he has this style. He knows, psychologically, how your brain works, right?
Yeah.
And it's not tricky and cheesy.
That's what made that first movie, that
Insidious.
Yeah.
There's
what made it.
Not a lot of jump scares, but just the mood, the overall mood of the movie is just so unsettling.
It's kind of like, so one of my favorites along these lines is The Babadook. Which he actually didn't do.
No, he didn't.
But The
it has the
Babadook
same
is a good
feeling.
example of people watching his movies and going, "Oh, that's why it's scary," and then recreating.
And
that.
The Babadook is almost more psychologically.
There's not really a jump scare in that entire movie, is there?
There's a few that are. I wouldn't call them jump scares. And
I just remember that as a scary movie.
Maybe that's what they've done in these. Is they've changed it from the jump scare where somebody just jumps out and it's like bugga bugga, right? And they've gone from that to. What I would call
hands coming out of the wardrobe.
I would call.
Clapping.
I mean, that's a jump scare.
That scared the living daylights out of me.
But there's a crescendo to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like they leave you sitting in a pool of uncomfortableness.
That's
before the jump scare hits.
For those who don't know the reference, there is a scene in the movie. Which one is this? Is
Conjuring.
This the first one.
The first one.
First
yeah.
Conjuring. She's playing the version of hide and seek you play where you have to clap.
Yeah.
And you try and find the person based on their clap. You know where the little kid's hiding. You know where she is. You can see all of this. And she says something about, there's a word you say when you want the other person to clap. I don't remember what it is.
Well, and the light goes out.
And the light goes out. And she's, of course, she's blindfolded. And behind her, these two white hands come out of the wardrobe where you know the kid isn't.
No, it's in
clap.
the scary basement.
And that just, every time the hair on the back of my neck stands up. Not a jump scare at all. But so creepy.
Well, and this movie, so if you're expecting kind of traditional James Wan in Malignant, it's going to be about 50-50. I can tell he's doing something, and I haven't read any interviews with him.
You said earlier, kind of going over the top on purpose.
The opening shot is a rainy cliff. And there's I'm just going to call it an insane asylum, mental hospital, kind of old school, sitting on this cliff. I actually was like, oh, whose castle is that? Is this in England? And it's not. You know what I mean?
Whose castle?
And then some of the acting in it is so over the. I was like, this is almost feels silly. It feels almost like B grade. And I feel like he's doing that on purpose because. What he also does in this is he still comes with his traditional, I know how to scare you in unconventional ways,
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, there's a scene in the beginning of the movie where the main character, who's played by Annabelle Wallis, who's probably the only familiar name in this movie, she's being chased through the house, and she's trying to shut doors and everything. And instead of having this camera tracking her through the house, it's an overhead shot. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
And the camera it's almost like a maze.
Oh, that's
it's
creepy
following her
just
through
thinking
the
about
house.
it.
Yeah, it's so unnerving. And again, it's just he knows what scares you, and he's able to put that on the screen in not a way that comes across as lame. This movie is so over the top. I only watched 23 minutes. I will watch the rest.
But you plan to go back.
I will watch the rest in broad daylight. With
I'm excited that it was that scary.
This is on HBO Max. This is streaming for the next 30 days on HBO Max, so you can see it in theaters, or you can see it on HBO Max.
And it is here in Logan.
It is, and I would recommend seeing this in theaters. This is the kind of movie you go with a bunch of friends. and it's like going to the haunted house.
Maybe we need to put together. It's been a while since we've done this. Maybe we should need to put together a movie show trip.
We may have to do that because I don't think I can do it by myself.
A bunch of people in there covering their eyes.
I can't take. When I was dating, I can't take people to scary movies because I close my eyes, and nobody wants to date somebody that closes their eyes.
That's. I had to close my eyes. So back to your question about scariest movie, or a movie that left you the most unsettled. The original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Part of that was I was too young to watch it when I watched it. I watched it with a bunch of friends.
So it had some taboo over it.
It was a little too much for my age at the time. Same with a TV show called Dark Night of the Scarecrow. Look that up.
What in the world?
Traumatized me. But I was only
never even heard of that.
I was like 10, and it was a Halloween ABC Sunday night movie special made for TV. And then the Paranormal Activity movies.
Oh, those are
every time I see them, and I rewatch them frequently for some reason.
So they've done
those movies bug me every time.
Really?
Afterwards. Like I leave lights on. I hate tank tops, white tank tops.
Have you? They've done they did a study where they basically took people and they measured their heart rates through movies, and they have there's a top 10 list of movies that made people's heart rate jump, and a lot of the ones that you just mentioned are on that list.
Just send us out with a little Kenny G. Go on.
Okay, that's good. No,
we actually have to wrap up early here to make time for Al Lewis. And
you
tell us your
forgot
grade.
To say the venerable
Al Lewis. So what's your grade on this movie? Is this?
I can't say at this
the 23
point.
minutes you saw.
I would say it was like an A- for the first 23 minutes.
But you're still saying go see it.
Oh yeah,
very
absolutely.
Nice. Very cool. All right, there you have it from Andy. Go see it. 23 minutes he saw was great. For the People Movie Show, we'll be back next Friday at 5. Al Lewis and Aggie pregame next here on KVNU Logan.
The first ever Latino Festival is September 18th on Center Street in Logan. Come celebrate the Latin culture with food, music, dance, and cultural performances. The festivities get underway at 3 p.m. Enjoy live bands, a parade with authentic Latin dress. And did we mention food? Ridiculously good food trucks. Then work off the calories with everyone's favorite dance-based workout, Zumba. The Latino Festival is presented by Gosner Foods, where you can earn up to $20 an hour, quarterly bonuses, and free health insurance. Members First Credit Union. Our name says it all. Thermo Fisher Hispanic Employees Resources Group. Cytiva. Earn hourly wages of $20 or more at Cytiva. iFit, a global company committed to diversity and inclusion, welcomes everyone to the Latino Festival. Bring your family, your friends, and even your dance shoes to the first ever Latino Festival, September 18th, starting at 3 p.m. on Logan's Center Street.
He's been good to you over the years. He let you build the kids a Ford high off the ground. He watched over them for hours as they swung back and forth on that old tire. In the fall, he provided hours of fun letting your kids jump in giant leaf piles. Yeah, he's been a good old tree. Return the favor and keep them healthy and strong.
Take care of your trees the right way. Call Hull Tree Care. Their certified arborists and cleanup crew are the best around. 760-6587. When you call, ask about the radio discount. Hull Tree Care. 760-6587.
Meet me downtown. Meet me in downtown Logan.
Hi, this is Lance Zollinger with Cache Valley Bank. We love supporting local events, and we are proud to support the Logan City Top of Utah Marathon coming to downtown Logan on Saturday, September 18th. Cache Valley Bank invites everyone to meet us in downtown Logan to run, cheer, or volunteer at the Logan City Top of Utah Marathon. Cache Valley Bank, member FDIC.
Meet me downtown. Meet me in downtown Logan.
Ah, that's better. Trade in the stresses of building a new home for relaxation. Visionary Homes Priority is giving you a stress-free building experience. Named the best home builder in northern Utah, Visionary Homes team will guide you seamlessly through the home building process. Call today, 435-228-4702, or visit visionaryhomes.com to learn more about upcoming communities in Nibley, Logan, and Smithfield. Visionary Homes, built for living, built for you.
It's youth hockey time for boys and girls ages 4 to 14. The Cache Valley Youth Hockey League wants you to try hockey for 2 weeks, totally free.
That's right. First-time skaters can try hockey for free for 2 weeks.
All equipment is included. Coaches will walk you through everything needed. If you are interested in youth hockey, sign-ups are going on now. To learn more about the 2-week free youth hockey trial, go to cachehockey.com. That's cachehockey.com. Cache Valley Youth Hockey. Join today.
Pristine wilderness can still be found in the West, where creeks run freely and historic apple trees still bear fruit. Maple Creek Ranch features breathtaking canyon views and opportunities for real estate development. 2.5-acre lots are now available with adjacent wilderness areas that provide endless riding and recreational possibilities. So find your piece of territory